Well, we've only left the single market for a couple of years, and that's also been a period when we've had to deal with the aftershock of the pandemic. And actually in that period, the UK has grown faster than France or Germany. So I think it's too early to make a premature judgment given all the other things that are going on. But what I would say is that in the UK we have tremendous optimism that we will make a success of our new destiny. There's absolutely no reason why we can't prosper as an independent country in the way that Canada or Australia.
When will that prosperity show up?
Well, you know, these things are difficult to judge right now, given the turbulence we've seen with Ukraine and COVID. But it's up to the UK. We have to make the decisions that show that we're going to make a great success of it, and that's what the government is determined to do.
Of course, you've had your challenges. So post-Brexit, post the pandemic, what is your government's strategy largely to make UK an attractive investment destination?
Well, we've set out our plan for growth, and it's based on a very simple ambition. The UK, about 25% of our economy is from the growth industries that will shape the 21st century, clean energy, technology, life sciences, creative industries, advanced manufacturing. We are very strong in those sectors. And if you ask me, how is the UK going to pay for our National Health Service? How are we going to be Europe's largest defender of democracy with our armed forces? How are we going to keep taxes low? Well, our ambition is to be the world's next Silicon Valley. We think we have the chance to do that with our fantastically strong higher education sector, our financial services, more unicorns than any other country in Europe. And that's the reason, if you want to be part of that success story, you should come to the UK, invest in the UK.
Would you look at your own version of the Inflation Reduction Act in terms of incentivizing industries, especially the tech sector?
Well, we have to recognize that the United States is coming to this from behind. They had a president previously who was very skeptical about anything to do with climate change. And so there's a bit of catch-up going on in the US. So they don't have things that we've had for many years, like carbon pricing. So we will make sure that the UK continues to be a very attractive place for all clean energy investments. But we'll do it in a different way, our own way, not necessarily the same way.
What does different look like, Chancellor?
Well, we will make sure that the UK, I mean, we already get 40% of our energy from renewable sources. We're one of the world's very largest manufacturers for wind energy. So we have a lot to be proud of, as well as, by the way, the country from the G20 that has reduced emissions more than any other since 1990. So we're very proud of the progress we've made, and we will continue to blaze a trail.
Right. I want to talk about the labour and broader workforce issues that the United Kingdom is facing, the union strikes, the issue of migration, wage hike demand. How are you looking to attract talent at every level of the workforce ladder?
Well, we want to be an economy that is both high skill and high wage. And we want to change our economic model from one that has depended on unlimited low skill migration to one that is a much higher skill economy, higher productivity, and is therefore able to pay people more. And that's why the changes we're making are designed to encourage investment. And when it comes to labour supply issues, I mean, we understand how difficult it's been for people working very hard if their pay hasn't kept matched with inflation. Exactly. We understand that. And we would try and do anything we can.
It literally means they're not making much at all.
Yeah, and we will do anything we can to try and alleviate that, except measures that entrench high inflation. And so that's why we're having discussions with any unions that are willing to do that to try and resolve these labour disputes.
When is a breakthrough expected? I mean, at what stage are those negotiations going on?
Well, there are some discussions going on at the moment, and we hope there will be more such discussions. And we're very clear, we're happy to talk about absolutely anything except things that will mean that inflation gets entrenched and stays around.
So no wage hikes happening?
Well,
you will not give that to the unions?
We have offered some wage increases. We've offered some huge cost of living payments, about £3,500 per family across the UK on average this year and next. So we're doing a lot of things to help people with the cost of living. We just don't want to do something that makes the inflation problem even worse.
Chancellor, what about the UK's economic outlook? The Bank of England is projecting that starting this quarter, the UK gets into a shallow recession that runs for the next 5 quarters. Do you agree with that view?
Well, we'll hear the latest forecast from the Office for Budget Responsibility in a couple of weeks' time when we have the budget. I think the mood here at the G20 is that the recession is likely to be shallower globally than had been previously feared, and I think that's what many people think about the UK. But let's wait until the budget and then we'll hear the proper official forecasts.
I hear a lot of pessimism about the UK. When I talk to people, there's no way to sugarcoat this, Chancellor, but they do tell me that the UK economy is in a mess.
Well, we've had pressures like everyone else, but I'd say look at the facts. Just a few weeks ago at Davos, PricewaterhouseCoopers said that global chief executives said the UK was the 3rd most important country in the world to grow a business, alongside Germany and only behind the United States and China. We are the 2nd largest in the world for financial services. We are the top large European economy as a place to do business, according to the World Bank. So we've got a massive amount going for us.
No, UK is a prominent economy, a prominent market, which is what brings me to my next question, which is on the glide path for your taxation policy. When do you aim to become more tax friendly?
Well, we had to put up taxes to bring back responsibility to our public finances in the autumn. But I've been very clear that the trajectory we want to get on, particularly when it comes to businesses, is to have more competitive levels of business taxation. So we'll look carefully at any changes that we're able to make within the constraints of being responsible with public finances, but the long-term ambition is to have nothing less than the most competitive business tax rates anywhere.
Okay, that'll help with the ease of doing business and drawing investments as well. You're here at the G20. How does India and Asia fit into your scheme of things, especially with increased migration coming in from Asia?
Well, we think that Asia is the place the UK wants to have a strong and increasingly strong presence because it's the fastest growing, most dynamic economic region of the world. There's so many things happening in Asia that we admire. I'm happy to say I spent some of my time here looking at India's own Silicon Valley in Bengaluru,
right,
the original Silicon Valley, which has the highest concentration of technology specialists anywhere in the world, higher even than Silicon Valley itself. So there's a huge amount for the UK to benefit from by being well connected to Asia.
How did your bilateral go with the Indian Finance Minister? Because you're working on a trade deal, but it's a long time coming.
Well, we had an excellent discussion. We're making good progress on the trade deal.
Where is it getting stuck?
It's not getting stuck. We're having very good discussions, and I would say that this is someone who is very warm to the UK. She lived in London for 5 years, yes. So she has very, very close links to the UK. So I think we had a very good meeting.
But in terms of sectoral opportunities, what sectors are you exploring for bilateral trade investments?
Well, I think India is the 5th largest economy in the world. The UK is the 6th largest economy. We have an enormous amount to offer each other. The technology sector is a very good example because we both have very strong technology sectors. We have very strong financial services, huge pension funds. I think we could unlock a lot more investment into India. I think from the Indian point of view, there are probably lots of things that they would like to sell to us. So I think...
please continue.
No, I think I would just say I think, we don't reach the potential we could. I mean, India's the 2nd largest investor.
What's the potential? Give me the size.
Well, I mean, India's the 2nd largest investor in the UK. The UK is the 6th largest investor in India. We're the 5th and 6th largest economy, but our annual trade is less than $50 billion. We can do better than that. 100
billion and beyond?
Absolutely.
By when? And when does this trade deal get done? Because the numbers, the timeline floating around is next month, in fact.
Well, I think I don't want to say an exact number, but that's really the point of the trade deal, is to unlock that investment between two countries who know each other extremely well and really should be doing a lot more trade.
Wow, you could double trade and bilateral investments between the two nations in the coming years. That's a big one. What about your bilateral with Secretary Yellen? Because the US and UK combined have contributed a lot towards their commitment in the war, as far as the Ukraine war is concerned. UK has put in nearly $2.5 billion pounds, I beg your pardon, in military aid. What more can we expect from the two countries?
Well, I think the United Kingdom and the United States have been allies for many years, and really since the Second World War are the two countries that have done more than any to build the current security architecture, which has meant that we have had massive reductions in people living in extreme poverty, because over the last 75 years people have largely stopped fighting each other and they've been trading a lot more, and that's made everyone a lot wealthier. And that's the progress that we both want to protect, and that's why most of our discussion was about the situation in Ukraine and how we can make sure we don't...
Do you talk more financial aid?
Yes, because well, we talked about the financial aid that Ukraine needs, but we also talked about the impact on the global economy if people go back to a world in which small countries worry that they're going to be invaded by their bigger neighbours. That's not a world that either the United Kingdom or the United States wants.
Sure. Chancellor, I'll just take two more questions and then I'll wrap up. Do you think the Ukraine war has brought you closer in terms of improving your communication channels with the EU and your Brexit negotiations?
I think so, because what it's done is given proper perspective. You can have you know, huge discussions about customs checks on goods flowing between England and France, or on, you know, minute aspects of our new trading relationship. But when something big happens, something terrible happens like the invasion of Ukraine, I think it reminds both sides that in the end we have so much more in common than some of the differences that have perhaps been bubbling to the surface.
Right. Chancellor, also looking forward, you know, with the elections slated to come up in 2024, what sort of scorecard are you aiming for to win back voter confidence? Because the polls are down, are not in your favor at this moment. You have a budget as well that's coming up. What can people expect from you?
Well, I think if you do brave things as a government, you're very unlikely ever to be ahead in the polls. But when the election comes, I think people will see that when it comes to taking the tough and difficult decisions to bring responsibility back to public finances, to get inflation down, to get the economy growing, then that's the Conservative Party, and we are the party that in the end will build an economy that can put more funding into our National Health Service, that can support our armed forces so that they can do their very important work, that can keep taxes low. We think those are the things that matter to most people.
Taxes will be lower by then?
As soon as we can afford to, yes.